Now, before I get into what I'm about to get into, I just want to make sure that each and every one of you guys hit that like or dislike button, put some Coach K full court pressure on that notification bell so you can be notified each and every time I upload a video or go live on my YouTube channel. And once again, this is your boy E Thriller. Welcome back. Now, first things first, let me adjust my mic, get my shit straight, man, because we gonna talk about some real shit. Because when I told you guys I am on a motherfucking rampage to make sure that the biggest fight in the motherfucking sport of boxing and the welterweight division happen, I meant that. And I don't give a damn on who is stalling what, whether that's Earl Spence saying the bullshit that he says, or if it's Terence Crawford coming out and saying the bullshit that he just said this past weekend, which I'm about to play. DJ, roll that clip.
We said about a month or two ago with Errol Spence. You know, you don't need that. Do you? Are you for real? I know you don't. I know, but are you for real about just forget it now?
I'm not worried about that fight. I done told y'all numerous of times now. I'm not even worried about the fight.
Still down to do it, of course. Though,
you never would see me asking for that fight ever again.
I still hope it happens though, bud.
If it happens, it happens. If it don't, I don't care.
You still beat him, right? Come on, man. All right.
Clearly, you can see the frustration in his voice. You can see it in his demeanor. You can see it in his body language, rather. And it's one thing to say that, hey, I'm not worried about the fight, right? But it's an entirely different thing to say that I don't need Earl Spence because, nigga, yes, you do. Yes, you do. If you are really serious about becoming undisputed in the welterweight division, not 140, not 135, not 130, but at 147, unless Earl Spence vacates those straps or lose to Ugas or whoever the case may be in his next fight, you have to see Earl Spence. I mean, that's if you are truly serious about becoming undisputed in the welterweight division, would submit your legacy, because you are indeed already a Hall of Famer based off of your credentials and your resume right now. But in order to add to that, in order to be compared with the likes of a Sugar Ray Leonard, a Floyd Mayweather, you know, those other great welterweights in the fucking boxing history, then you are going to have to go see Earl Spence. And Earl Spence can't come out and say, oh, I don't need Terence Crawford. Yes, you do. You guys are joint at the hip. You can't mention one person's name without the other. It's very similar to Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. It's very similar to that in regards to, oh, if I talk about one, I got to bring up the other one. Because why? The people want to see the fight. And I can't let you slide with saying some bullshit like this, because this is only going to hinder the biggest fight in the sport from happening right away. And me, as a fan and as a commentator on YouTube, and the rest of my subs on my channel, we want to see the best go up against the best in their primes. Terence Crawford is what, 33, 34, 35 years old? How much time does he have left, y'all? In the peak of his career. I mean, in his prime. We don't fucking know. Both of these guys are in their mid-30s. We want to see you guys fight now. I mean, how long does this fight have to marinate and materialize? And then it doesn't make anything any better when your own fucking promoter, Bud, comes out and say the dumb shit that he says. And I get it. You're frustrated. You've been chasing Spence for 3 years. But last time I checked, you've been calling out Manny Pacquiao since 2014. Manny Pacquiao has been ducking the smoke with you since 2014. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am no mathematician by any means, but I am pretty decent, right? And the last time I checked, that's 7 fucking years. It's 2021, y'all. 7 years of trying to get a big mega fight with Manny Pacquiao, and I get it. I get it. That fight is going to put you on a superstar level. But let's be honest. How much credit are you really going to get from beating a Manny Pacquiao who is 7 years older now that he's 42? I fucking wait. Now, I'm not saying I don't want to see the fight. But I'm saying you're going to have to be consistent, because you've only been calling out EJ for 2 to 3 years now. But you've been chasing Manny for 7 years. And now all of a sudden, Manny wants to fight because, let's be honest, he was trying to get a fight with Conor McGregor, a fucking exhibition when he had the WBA strap. And then when that fight fell through because Conor McGregor went to sleep experts in the UFC, he tried to go after Ryan Garcia, who is only 135 pounds, who has done nothing to earn the right to share the ring with the 8-time world champion and Manny Pacquiao, the fucking living legend, the future Hall of Famer, first ballot, by any means. And when that fight then fell through because of who knows what, now all of a sudden Manny then got stripped. Ugas to grab the WBA strap. Now Manny wants to all of a sudden fight you in Dubai for $40 million and you get $10 million. And Bob Arum is claiming that he's found a site or he's working with some investors over there that is going to front the bill, because we all know Bob cheap ass ain't going to pay nobody. He don't even want to pay Bud the $4 fucking million that he's making guaranteed no matter what right now. That is why he has been bitching and complaining, because Bud, say what you want about him, he has one of the better deals in boxing. He has one of the best deals in boxing. But Bob Arum has went on Barbershop's Conversations. Shout out to Fred. Go, even if you haven't done so already, go like and subscribe. I'm going to post a link to the actual interview in the description below. Support the boxing YouTube brothers. You know, whether I agree or disagree with them, I'm still going to support them and I'm going to still show them love. But I'm going to play a snippet of what Bob Arum said. And once again, this is your boy E Thriller. DJ, roll them clips.
It's more money for Terence, and Terence would prefer a Pacquiao fight against anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, so Sean Porter's on hold.
Yeah, we're going to see what happens.
Okay.
And we'll know this week whether Pacquiao Crawford can actually happen. If it doesn't happen, and since Spence clearly doesn't want to fight Crawford, I think Crawford and Porter would be a tremendous fight.
You said Spence, quote, clearly doesn't want to fight Crawford.
Yeah, I mean, you know, come on. Crawford wants to fight Spence, and Spence has said loud and clear he doesn't want to fight Crawford. And, you know, again, he has to make his own decisions. And I'm sure if Spence wanted to fight Crawford, he would tell Al, and Al and I would put it together. I mean, you know, again, you can't force any fighter to make a fight that he really doesn't want to make.
Wouldn't 60-40 be more money for Crawford than the $40 million, $10 million split for the Manny Pacquiao fight?
No. No.
Really?
No.
You don't think Crawford will make over $10 million in Dallas?
Over what?
Oh, you don't think Crawford Spence does great numbers financially?
I think Crawford Spence would do extraordinarily good numbers, but Pacquiao Crawford has more money in it because of a site fee which distorts everything. In other words, maybe Spence and Crawford does better pay-per-view numbers than Pacquiao and Crawford. But again, that's only a small part of the whole picture.
Okay.
If somebody is willing to spend big money to get a Pacquiao Crawford fight as a site fee, that then distorts everything.
Got that.
You know, even though the pay-per-view numbers may not be as big, the overall revenue is much bigger on a Pacquiao.
Has there been? Can you elaborate on the conversations with you and Al Heyman as it relates to Spence and Wilder?
I've had no conversations. Oh, no, that's not true. I had a conversation back before the pandemic, and Al was very interested in making that fight. I have not had a conversation with Al about that fight since then.
I thought you spoke to Al.
If Spence wants to do that fight, I'm sure that Al would sit down with us and we would work out the details.
So when you said you spoke to Al, you was making reference to the conversation you had last year?
Before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic. Funny feeling in me, Bob, that y'all are protecting assets. Like for example, I think on some level, Al Heyman is protecting Errol Spence on some level by giving him narratives. I think on your end, you may be protecting Bud giving him narratives on your end so y'all don't mess up the money at the finish line, and that being Crawford and Spence?
No, we're ready to do that fight tomorrow. I mean, I say tomorrow. If the Pacquiao thing comes through, that's the fight that Crawford's going to do. If it doesn't come through, then, and Al called me, let's do the fight. We'd sit down immediately with him and try to put it together.
Okay.
Now, I could have sworn Bob Arum came out a couple of weeks ago because I vividly remember, if my memory serves me correct, I made a video on Bob Arum saying that Errol Spence does not want the fight. He is the holdup to the fight not happening with Terence Bud Crawford, right? So, based off of everything he was saying, he made me think, he made fight fans think, that he had spoken to Al Heyman and Al Heyman was ready to sign off on the fight. The holdup was Errol Spence, right? But now, in this interview with Barbershop Conversations, he clearly stated that he has not even spoken to Al Heyman since the pandemic has hit. So how in the fuck can you sit up there and say that Errol Spence doesn't want the fight when you haven't even talked to his advisor? I will fucking wait. I mean, to me, that doesn't make sense. And then I did some more digging, y'all, because you know me. I like to come with receipts. Because once again, I am here for us fans in the sport of boxing. I'm not here for the teams. I'm not here for their camps. I'm not here for the boxers, okay? Bob Arum said, and I quote, "The pandemic must end before big fights can happen." He also went on to say, but again, let me tell you from a promoter's standpoint, for the people who have to raise the money, that fight can't happen. And other big fights can't happen until the pandemic is gone. End quote. And he's clearly talking about fights like Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua and Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence, right? Well, if you're going to sit up there and say that this fight can't happen until the pandemic is over, then why in the fuck would you turn around and say that Errol Spence doesn't want the fight? Because clearly it sounds like you don't want the fight to be made because you want to maximize your fucking potential dollars and your pockets because you is greedy as a motherfucker. And at the same time, you are going to shit on your biggest product, on your team at Top Rank in Terence Crawford along the way. And you holding up big fight after big fight after big fight for Terence Bud Crawford, and I just don't get it. I mean, maybe it is true that this dude is truly a fucking racist, and he does not want to see any black fighter on his stable be the face of Top Rank. I mean, one would have to think that. I mean, the proof is starting to look like it's in the pudding, y'all. I mean, drop your comments below. But I'm thinking Bob Arum is holding Terence Crawford back. I mean, I know people have been saying that for the longest, but my Lord, it's starting to come into fruition because this shit don't make sense. But then you're so hell-bent on making a fight with Manny Pacquiao because you got the site fee, and I get it. The closed circuits, I mean, if you don't understand what he's saying about that, that's like, for example, if you were to go watch a fight at a casino and they charging you a fee, you can go get drinks and, food and merchandise. All that shit plays a factor into the overall purse of the fighters and of the promoters and shit like that, right? So I get why he wants to have a fight with Manny Pacquiao from Bob Arum's perspective. But once again, Terence Crawford, if you really want this fight with Errol Spence, you can't be saying the bullshit that you're saying. And also, if you are really serious about becoming undisputed, because I've heard you say that on many occasions in the welterweight division, right? The only way you can do that is by beating Errol Spence, who has 2 of the other 3 straps that you don't have. And Ugas has the 3rd, right? But it's starting to seem like to me, and I can't believe I'm saying this, y'all, but it seems like to me that even though Bud is not a flashy guy, he doesn't talk about money all the time, he doesn't flaunt it, he's a family man, he's married, he's a humble guy, lives a humble life, the only thing he broadcasts on his social media is his guns and shit like that. But it's starting to seem like Terence Crawford is very fucking money driven. Dare I say that? Because let's be honest, Errol Spence has thrown out 60-40 or 70-30 or whatever we give him, right? That seems a hell of a lot better than Manny Pacquiao saying, hey, This is a $50 million fight. I'm taking 40 and you taking 10. Now, granted, I understand that Manny Pacquiao is a much bigger star than Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, and I'm not saying that Terence Crawford should be the A side over Manny Pacquiao, and I'm also not saying that Errol Spence should be the A side over Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao is one of the biggest draws in the sport of boxing outside of Canelo and AJ and shit like that, right? But if you're willing to settle to fight Manny Pacquiao, a motherfucker you've been chasing for 7 years, I'm starting to say, I don't understand why you wouldn't settle for the 60-40 with Errol Spence. I hate to say it, but it doesn't make sense, because are you really going to let 10% be the difference in you not becoming undisputed? I mean, at the end of the day, guys, we are talking about 10%. Now, I have been one of the people on YouTube that said, hey, if y'all can't come to a 50-50 split agreement, then why not do 60-40 to the winner? Now, I'm sure Errol Spence is probably opposed to that based off of his comments in the past. And I'm not sure what Terence Crawford would have to say to that. But even if you can't do 60-40, what about 55-45, 51-49? Hell, I don't give a damn. I just want to see the fight. I want to make it fair. You understand what I'm saying? So if you can settle for that little, cut with Manny, which is what? A 75-25 split, if I'm not mistaken, then 60-40 really don't sound that bad. I mean, I have to call a spade a spade. At the end of the day, I think the Spence and the Crawford fight does more numbers than Manny Pacquiao and Crawford, because it's the fight that everybody want to see. Now, true, everybody still is going to want to pay to see Bud go up against Manny. Bud can gain a lot of popularity. That can probably cross him over into that superstar status that everybody wants to get from facing the Manny Pacquiao. But again, how much credit are you going to get for beating an over-the-hill Manny Pacquiao? Because really, it's a lose-lose situation as far as on your resume. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, it's a big name, but there's always going to be that one caveat to say, hey, Manny wasn't in his prime. Manny is in his 40s. Hell, Floyd Mayweather even said he doesn't know why you guys are chasing Manny Pacquiao so much. You have to define and create and cement your own legacy. And how do you do that? By fighting each other. Because again, I have been this guy, and you can go back and listen to my old videos. I have said that I feel like these two dudes should fight each other before they can even get a shot at Manny Pacquiao. Because Manny Pacquiao is on that elite superstar level. These two guys are not. These two guys are the same to me. Errol Spence has more pay-per-view numbers. That is true. But I think that's partially because he has had better dance partners in the fucking ring. Because who's to say if Terence Crawford wouldn't have fought Mikey Garcia at AT&T Stadium that they wouldn't have done the same numbers? I'll wait. I'll fucking wait. But at the end of the day, we got to live in a reality world, y'all. I can't make assumptions. So we got to go based on the facts. And based on the facts right now, Errol Spence is the bigger and the better pay-per-view draw. According to the numbers, I can't dispute that. I cannot dispute that. Now, maybe things will sure up and be 50-50 on the even playing field if and when this fight with Manny gets made, and if Terence Bud Crawford wins a dominating fashion, and if they sell a lot of pay-per-views and do a lot of live gates when they are in Dubai or some shit like that. I don't know, y'all, but I'm just saying, man, it's starting to seem like Terence Crawford, along with his boxing promoter and Bob Arum, who has always been full of shit. I say he's Satan in a suit. I just don't trust the dude. It seems like these dudes are very money driven. So I have to ask this question, and I hate I even have to ask it, but how serious is Terence Crawford about unifying and becoming undisputed at 147 anymore? Has he lost his love for it? I mean, I think this is a valid question to be asked, but those are just my thoughts. I want to know yours below. Once again, I want to thank everybody for watching this video, and if you haven't done so already, hit that like or dislike button, put some Coach K full court pressure on that notification bell, and just like that, your boy E Thriller, I'm gone. Holla.